Hey everyone, and welcome to Dinar. Today I'm glad you're here because what we're covering in today's episode is absolutely critical if you're holding Iraqi Dinar or Vietnamese Dong. We're talking about a scenario that's sending shockwaves through the currency investment community right now, a potential valuation range of $3 to $7 per unit. Yes, you heard that correctly. And what's even more fascinating is the intense preparation happening behind the scenes at redemption centers across the country and around the world. This isn't just rumor or wishful thinking anymore. There are tangible indicators that financial institutions are taking this possibility seriously enough to invest time, resources, and planning into being ready for what could be one of the most significant currency events in modern history. So whether you're a seasoned dinar investor who's been following this journey for years, or you're relatively new to the world of foreign currency investment, this video is going to give you the complete picture. We're going to explore why the $3 to $7 range is such a critical threshold, what it means for redemption center operations, how financial institutions are preparing on multiple levels, and most importantly, what you as an investor need to know and do right now to position yourself wisely. Let's dive deep into this developing situation. First, let's establish some essential context that will help you understand the magnitude of what we're discussing. The Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong have been on the radar of currency investors for well over a decade now. These aren't mainstream investment vehicles that your typical financial advisor talks about. They exist in a specialized space where investors study geopolitical developments, economic reforms, international monetary policy, and government signals to anticipate potential revaluations. For years, holders of these currencies have been waiting, watching, and hoping for the day when their investments might appreciate significantly against the US dollar. The conversation around a $3 to $7 valuation isn't new, but what is new is the level of institutional preparation we're seeing right now. To understand why this matters, you need to grasp the current exchange rates. Historically, both the dinar and dong have traded at extremely low values compared to the dollar. We're talking fractions of a penny. When investors discuss a jump to $3, $5, or even $7 per unit, we're not talking about a modest appreciation. We're talking about an exponential increase that would represent gains of thousands, even tens of thousands of percent. For someone who invested even a modest amount years ago, this kind of revaluation would be absolutely life-changing. We're talking about turning thousands of dollars into millions. That's the dream, and that's why so many have remained committed to holding these currencies despite years of waiting. But here's the crucial point that often gets overlooked in all the excitement about potential gains. A valuation of this magnitude doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's not just about the numbers changing on a screen. It's about real-world infrastructure preparation and systems being ready to handle what could be an unprecedented wave of currency exchanges. This is where redemption centers come into the picture, and this is where the story gets really interesting. So what exactly are redemption centers, and why are they so critical to this entire discussion? Think of redemption centers as specialized facilities, often affiliated with major banks or operating independently under strict regulatory oversight, where currency holders can physically exchange their foreign currency holdings for US dollars or other major currencies. These aren't your typical bank branches. During a major revaluation event, these centers become the front line of currency exchange activity. They need to be equipped to handle not just the volume of transactions, but the verification processes, security protocols, cash management, and customer service required when people are potentially exchanging holdings worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. Right now, according to multiple sources within the currency investment community and reports from individuals connected to the banking sector, redemption centers are actively planning for a scenario where the dinar and dong reach the $3 to $7 range. This planning isn't casual or speculative. We're talking serious operational preparation that involves significant investment of time and resources. When financial institutions commit resources to preparation like this, it tells us something important. They're seeing credible indicators that make this scenario worth preparing for. Banks and redemption centers don't waste money on elaborate preparations for events they consider completely implausible. Let me break down what this preparation actually involves, because understanding the scope will help you appreciate how seriously this is being taken. First, there's the matter of cash liquidity. If thousands or potentially millions of currency holders suddenly want to exchange their dinar or dong at rates of $3 to $7 per unit, redemption centers need to have access to enormous amounts of U.S. currency. This isn't as simple as having money in a vault. It requires coordination with central banks, careful cash management protocols, secure transportation of physical currency, and sophisticated tracking systems to ensure that funds are available where and when they're needed. The logistics of moving and securing this much cash are staggering. Then there's staffing. Normal bank operations during quiet times might require a certain number of employees, but a major revaluation event changes everything. Redemption centers are looking at staffing models that can handle potentially hundreds of thousands of transactions per day, each requiring careful verification, documentation, and processing. This means not just having enough people, but having properly trained people who understand the unique aspects of currency exchange, can identify counterfeit currency, know the verification procedures for different denominations and series of dinar and dong notes, and can maintain professional service standards even during periods of intense pressure and high volume. Security is another massive component of the preparation. When you're dealing with transactions that could involve hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars per exchange, the security requirements become extremely sophisticated. Redemption centers are implementing enhanced security protocols that include everything from advanced surveillance systems and secure transaction areas to coordination with local law enforcement and private security firms. They're planning for scenarios that include potential fraud attempts, counterfeit currency detection, identity verification to prevent money laundering, and physical security to protect the cash on hand and the safety of customers and employees. Technology infrastructure is equally critical. Modern currency exchange at this scale relies heavily on digital systems for transaction processing, verification, record-keeping, and compliance reporting. Redemption centers are stress testing their systems to ensure they can handle high transaction volumes without crashing or slowing down. They're implementing backup systems and redundancy protocols so that technical failures don't bring operations to a halt during critical periods. They're also ensuring their systems can interface with banking networks, government databases for compliance and reporting, and international verification systems. What's particularly noteworthy is that this preparation isn't happening in isolation at individual centers. There's coordination happening on multiple levels between redemption centers and major banks, between banks and central banking authorities, between U.S. financial institutions and international partners, and even between government regulatory agencies across countries. This level of coordination tells us something important. The potential for a dinar or dong revaluation is being taken seriously, not just by individual investors or even individual financial institutions, but by the financial system as a whole. Now, let's talk about why the $3 to $7 range is such a critical threshold. You might wonder why not $1 or $2 or $10? The answer involves a combination of factors, including economic analysis, geopolitical considerations, and practical financial system capacity. Financial analysts who study currency valuations look at factors like a country's GDP, its foreign currency reserves, its economic output, its debt levels, and its position in international trade. For both Iraq and Vietnam, various analyses have suggested that revaluation scenarios in the $3 to $7 range are plausible outcomes under certain reform scenarios, based on their economic fundamentals and the precedent of other currencies that have undergone significant revaluation. The $3 to $7 range is also significant from a practical standpoint. It's high enough to represent truly transformational gains for investors who have held these currencies, which means exchange volumes would be massive as people rush to capitalize on their gains. At the same time, it's within a range that financial systems can theoretically handle, although with significant preparation. If we were talking about valuations of $20 or $30 per unit, the practical challenges of managing the exchange process would become exponentially more difficult, potentially to the point of being unmanageable. The $3 to $7 range represents what might be called the sweet spot, where a revaluation is economically plausible, life-changing for investors, and practically manageable for the financial system with proper preparation. There's also geopolitical signals that experienced dinar and dong watchers are monitoring closely. Both Iraq and Vietnam have been undergoing significant economic reforms over the past several years. Iraq, despite its challenges, has been working to stabilize its economy, develop its non-oil sectors, combat corruption, and establish better integration with international financial systems. Vietnam has been one of the world's fastest-growing economies, attracting massive foreign investment, modernizing its infrastructure, and positioning itself as a key player in Southeast Asian trade and manufacturing. These aren't the economic profiles of countries whose currencies are going to remain at fractions of a penny forever. Furthermore, there have been various statements and policy signals from officials in both countries that currency watchers interpret as hints towards potential monetary reform. Now, it's important to note that government officials rarely announce major currency changes well in advance. Such announcements typically come with little warning to prevent speculation and market manipulation. But there are often subtle signals,